Welcome back everyone to part 4 of the Metroid Prime 100% walkthrough. We are going to proceed our way into the Hydra base and take on the Space Pirate Stronghold. We're going to be greeted with a turret, so once again, I want to scan the perimeter defense turret. One of the things we're going to be greeted with is a new enemy here. Morphology: Shadow Pirate. Pirate forces trained and equipped for stealth operations. A select group of space pirates have access to sophisticated cloaking technology. This gear drains high levels of power, however, forcing them to rely solely on melee weapons in battle. Use enhanced detection gear when fighting these units. So the idea here is that that guy was quite annoying. So the idea is that these pirates normally cannot be detected and are invisible, but you can use alternate visors to locate them and target them. We're greeted by the sentry unit here, initiating a forced battle between you and the space pirate forces, and the pirates activates some defensive barriers. This is a good time to scan the pirates officially. Morphology: Space Pirate. Sentinel aggressor species, well trained in weapon and melee combat. Space pirates wield galvanic accelerator cannons and forearm mounted scythes in combat. These species seek to become the dominant force in the galaxy, and their technology may help them realize this goal. Ruthless and amoral, the pirates care little for the cost of their ambition. Only the results matter, and they take these very seriously. So it's a nice backstory to space pirates. Basically, they're a race of beings where they feel the ends justify the means. So, very much portrays them as the chief antagonist of the series. One of the easiest ways to defeat the pirates is to use a charged wave beam shot, which will momentarily stun them, followed by a missile, and that will usually defeat them. This part is going to be somewhat heavy on the scanning, because there are a number of pirate data scans that we can acquire along our way in order to acquire the next power-up. We'll start by deactivating this force field, and once more we are forced to engage in a pirate combat. I will say this, get used to this combat music, because we will be hearing it a lot. Alright, there are a number of monitors here, and I believe that there are 5 scans in total that are required for your logbook. Ice beetle infestation in Ice Fault region has been 95% exterminated. Report any sightings to security immediately. Stasis tanks operating at 40% capacity. Temperature regulation errors have been rectified as of 12.112.4. Phazon fluid bath levels at 70%. Checking diagnostics per procedure 12.003.8. A new Space Pirate encrypted data decoded. Log 10.515.8. Our initial tests exposing Talon 4's indigenous parasites to Phazon appear to be successful. Increases in strength, size, and aggressiveness are common in all test subjects, as well as unforeseen evolutions like additional poison sacs within the abdomen and the appearance of a second ring of mandibles in several subjects. These creatures were chosen because of their resilience, and it appears possible that, given enough exposure to Phazon, they may one day be able to survive on any planet we transport them to. Our methods will have to be refined. We currently have a 100% extinction rate after the 4th infusion period, and most survivors of the 3rd infusion stage are so violent and uncontrollable that they have to be euthanized. Even still, we remain hopeful that further experimentation will result in success. So, the Space Pirates genetic program, they're trying to infuse indigenous life with Phazon to create these killing monsters, but they're having trouble sustaining their lifespan or maintaining any sort of control. Increased acidity levels recorded in Phazon amniotic bath. This is likely a side effect of Phazon ingestion by test subjects. How on earth would you want to eat this stuff? Access to research lab Aether limited to Team Sclera only. Personal bounds for Hollow Observatory must use West Elevator. So, and we have some more scans over here. So log 10.344.8. We have codified the newfound energy source as Phazon, a V-index mutagen of which we have very little reliable data. Indications point to a meteor of unknown origin expelling Phazon into the environment. This material appears to possess the power to mutate organic life forms sufficiently to withstand its poison. These mutations appear promising, with abrupt evolutionary leaps appearing in a single generation reproduction. Plans to establish a full science team on Talon 4 are being finalized. Log 10.587.7. Mining operations have begun near the crater where Phazon appears to be most concentrated. Daily Phazon yields have increased 44% and our mining systems become more streamlined as personnel and equipment flows increase. Several incidents of Phazon-induced madness have been reported, prompting augmented life support regulations in the deeper chambers. Symptoms include loss of equilibrium, erratic respiration, muscle spasms, and in the most extreme cases, hallucinations. A timeline reassessment for the refinery operation is recommended, as the material provides more unstable than initial analysis indicated. So not only are the pirates using Phazon, they're actively mining it and are trying to use it. Oh, I didn't read that properly. Let's try that again. Xenome SA is undergoing relocation to Lab Hydra. Subjects transfer ordered after a pronounced increase in aberrant behavior. Security clearance ADR-13. Phazon infused within central energy core of Xenome SA is at 70% saturation. Increased dosage appears viable. And our fourth entry in this room, log 10.712.1. Most terraforming and retrofitting of security checkpoints on Talon 4 is complete, but we continue to research the alarming epidemic of breaches by local creatures. Door records show no unauthorized entries, so we must presume the creatures are either slipping in undetected during daily personnel moves, or else finding their way in through subterranean tunnels. We have found many small breaches of this latter sort and plugged them whenever we can, but it is unlikely that we will ever achieve full extermination within our current timetable. So the pirates are aware that infiltration is happening. And some specimen 043, decreased vital signs, cold dampening appears stable. And we have this other one, specimen 029, life signs normal, pulse at 140%, mass increase of 4%. So presumably we have some stasis tanks, but nothing of particular interest. That's not scannable. There's some more computer equipment up here. I'll say it's a little kind of weird that every monitor has their own unique file, and that you don't necessarily have an access to all the files and equipment, but that's the way it goes. So let's see what we have here. Mutation strain 776-V shows massive absorption capacity influx. Strain replication is now underway. A lot of these logs are somewhat nonsense. Phazon batch 1734.D shows mandible mutation across all subjects. Cross infusion with batch 1622.G recommended. Xenome behavior patterns show decreased reflex activity at temperatures below freezing. Transfer of specimen 344 to Lab Hydra complete. Further infusions suspended pending security assessments. Prep work on all empty stasis tanks must be completed before specimen batch Y arrives on 12.312.2. here I believe we have our final space pirate for the room. Finally, the music changes. Specimen 070, optimal absorption mutation has led to unexpected degeneration of internal organs. Warning, do not handle sedated xenomes without proper ice containment equipment. Makes sense. And what else do we have here? Tissue samples from stasis tanks must be hand carried to Lab Hydra for analysis. Notify security of all material moves. And our fifth pirate for the room, log 10.664.2. Research outpost Glacier 1 in the Fendrana Drifts region of Talon 4's mountains is operating at 85% capacity. Sub-zero temperatures have made the Metroid sluggish and easy to control, even those well into phase-on infusion cycles. Is that really a good idea? Cold containment stasis tanks are sufficient for the juveniles, but some of the larger Metroids have been moved to quarantined caves for safety purposes. Security doors remain an issue, as malfunctions due to the ice occur every day. Large predators in the wastes are also a concern, as they continue to kill personnel and breach secure areas. Unfortunately, it has become clear that our containment teams cannot neutralize all of them without a vast increase in mutations in soldiers. Daily decontamination is now required for all personnel working in Lab Aether. So these pirates, they're doing research with Phazon, they're mining Phazon, they're trying to infuse the indigenous life forms with Phazon, and more or less creating these monsters that unfortunately become overly violent, overly aggressive, and cannot really survive beyond a few generations of this phase infusion process. So, not to mention that, as it's mentioned, a number of the Space Pirate team and Space Pirates are being exposed to Phazon, and those exposed are also succumbing to the effects of Phazon, more or less becoming insane. So here we are at the Chozo Observatory. There's 4 scans in the Chozo Observatory. First off, we'll scan this panel to activate some morph ball bomb slots. There's just 2 around the room. Hit this health. And a couple scans here. Excuse me. Log 10.401.7. Phazon mining is underway. Several garrisons have been established, and terraforming the Chozo ruins is underway. Security systems are operational, and science teams continue to make progress in their biotech research. The Fendrana Drifts have proven to be an optimal location for research headquarters, and soon it will be joined by a fully operational combat base in Starport. Excuse me. If Command's predictions are half true, we shall rise to dominance in the sector within a decacycle. Truly, these are glorious times. I think the Space Pirates are being highly over-optimistic. Holographic map coordinate data has been updated successfully. Space Pirate encryption data. Log 10.299.2. Scans of the spiral sector detected a massive energy spike emanating from a Wanderer-class planet identified as Talon 4. Scout reconnaissance was immediately dispatched to the center of the spike, a landmass at heading mark 40.08.02. Excuse me, returning with planetary samples and atmospheric imaging. Analysis shows the energy source to be an unstable radioactive material of enormous potential. We are unable to form an accurate risk assessment at this time, but we are likely to find an energy source this powerful again. Unlikely to find an energy source this powerful again. Analysis will continue, but currently Talon 4 appears to be a viable secondary headquarters. So after the base on Zebes was destroyed, the pirates are making Talon 4 their next major outpost. Holographic spatial schematic is in lockdown per Security Directive 2.23.445. So Some nice backstory there. The space pirates were scouting the planets. They discovered that Talon 4 contained this um, highly potent radioactive substance. Um, as they've indicated, this substance will mutate the life forms. The Chozo recognize that as well, and while the space pirates are encouraging to the mutations, the Chozo found it abhorrent and hope to try and stop it. Once we activate both bomb slots, the next job is to activate these 4 spinners. So we'll just go around and activate these 4 spinners. The idea is that we are activating the Space Pirate holographic generator, which will allow us to access the top of this particular tower. Base Hydra has 2 principal towers, so we're climbing the first tower here and going to make our way over to the second tower. The holographic generator is showing a holographic schematic of the planetary system here, so we can scan the few planets that make up the system. Planet Twin Tabula, mass 4.1 trillion teratons. Profile: planet is best known for twin fever, a disease caused by a viral strain native to Twin Tabula. In the early stages of the disease, victims suffer from double vision. When the twin sight fades, the victim is near death. Oh, isn't that lovely? Planet Talon 4, mass 5.1 trillion teratons. Profile: ecosystem studies indicate that Talon 4 was a biological paradise prior to the impact of an extraterrestrial object. What remains of the biosphere slowly fading due to exposure to phazon radiation. At current rate of decay, Talon 4 will be a barren, Class 13 wasteland in approximately 25 years. Planet Zebes, mass 4.8 trillion teratons. Profile: planet's crust is primarily earthic ore, making it ideal for subterranean construction. A Class 19 planet, Zebes is inhospitable to most bioforms. The world was considered unremarkable until it became a base for space pirate forces. There's another planet right here. Planet Urmine 2, mass 2.3 trillion teratons. Profile: an uninhabitable wasteland savaged by nuclear dust storms and constant seismic upheavals. Anyway, Planet Talon 4 and Planet Zebes are the only 2 logbook scans. Now that we've activated the observatory, so we can make our way to the top of the observatory. With these, one of the things I will say is that these platforms are spaced a little bit far apart, so it does make traversing them a little bit challenging. On the way, we pick up this upgrade, super missile. So with the super missile, we can use 5 missiles to charge one super powerful missile. It's definitely worthwhile, especially in some of the areas where definitely concentrated missile fire. We'll be using super missiles later on. And we come to the elevator here. One of the things I think is kind of interesting about these elevators is that most elevators have a scan at the top and bottom of the elevators, but these ones, there's only scans, that one at the bottom and the companion elevator at the top. So this is our second forced battle with the space pirate, and we have a new space pirate. These enemies can be kind of annoying. Morphology: Flying Pirate. Pirates trained and equipped for airborne assault. Flying pirates are extremely agile in the air, but the heat signatures of their jetpacks can be tracked with thermal imaging. While their missiles are extremely potent, their jetpacks can be even more so. If the pack fails, they'll make a suicide strike. I will say it's kind of impressive, and we can see that suicide strike there. Try to avoid it whenever possible. And just like with the other pirates, shoot them with a charged wave beam to first stun them, and then use a missile to bring them down. There will be other safer ways to deal with these as we acquire better weaponry. Gosh, how many are there? There's a number of flying pirates here. Oh, there you are. Couldn't find you for a second. One of the nice things about the flying pirates is that they often leave missiles behind. So, as you can see, I've replenished my missile count and make sure we go through the right door here. So here we have, again, an elevator scan here. There won't be an elevator scan at the bottom, so if you were somehow able to come the other way, you couldn't activate this elevator. It's a pretty common sight to see these scattered bamboo through these tunnels connecting major rooms. And now we have the second half of the pirate base here, Research Lab Aether. The previous was called Research Lab Hydra. And here we have a very familiar enemy to those who played previous Metroid games, the titular Metroid. There are a couple pirates data scans here, so we'll scan those data scans first. Log 10.444.4. Initial transfer of Metroids to Talon Forward research facilities has been completed. 3 were terminated in an incident at the landing site, but the others were pacified and transported safely. Initial Phazon infusion testing is underway. We are eager to observe the effects of Phazon on Metroids, especially their ability to absorb and process the energy given off by Phazon sources. Early research suggests a considerable growth in power and size. Whether the creatures stay stable thereafter remains to be seen. So we just read this pirate log. Phazon infusion state 6, subject Metroid BR5497. Subject mass is 180% of previous Phazon cycle. Increased dosage by 4%. So I'm not sure if the Metroid in the tank is after some Phazon infusion or not. Stasis tank B118 contaminated beyond acceptable safety standards. Removal squad requested. Metroid brain scans results in. Studies show accelerated activity in parietal lobe during hunting cycle at temperatures above 10 degrees centigrade. Containment temperature stable at 3 degrees centigrade. Environmental diagnostics satisfactory. Internal organs of Metroid seem to be limited to nucleonic absorption cells and massive energy reservoirs. The hooked mandibles of the Metroid penetrate the skin of its prey and siphon pure life force energy. Metroid containment field appears 100% effective after adjustments. And the second critical scan, log 10.891.0. The reconstruction of Geoform 187, codenamed Ridley, was recently completed after his defeat on Zebes. Command ordered a number of metagenic improvements for him. Though aggressive, we were able to implement these changes in a cycle. The metamorphosis was painful, but quite successful in the end. Early tests indicate a drastic increase in strength, mobility, and offensive capability. Cybernetic modules and armor plating have been added as well. We believe our creation, now called Meta Ridley, will become the mainstay of our security force, a job he will certainly relish. It's not clear whether or not Ridley retains all memory from the previous one, or if this is a brand new Ridley, but it's certainly something worth contemplating. Morphology: Metroid, energy-based parasitic predator. The dominant species of planet SR388, Metroids can suck a life force out of living things. A Metroid will latch onto its prey and drain energy, growing larger as it does. The only way to shake an attached Metroid is to enter Morph Ball mode and lay a bomb. That part must be just for Samus's benefit only. In the previous games, Metroids could only be defeated by first freezing them with an ice beam and then blasting with a missile. These Metroids can be destroyed simply with your power beam. So we'll go through interesting scans here. Yep. Energy-based creatures. Metroids show immediate mass increases upon energy absorption. Space pirate encrypted data decoded. Log 10.957.2. Confidence is high regarding Phazon applications. We know enough about Phazon now to begin combining it with Space Pirate DNA. The codename for this venture will be Project Helix. Preliminary studies indicate that Phazon infusion could produce radical new pirate genomes. Benevolent mutation levels are high in current test subjects. Phazon madness is a concern, but refinements in the infusion process should reduce or neutralize the odds of mental degradation. Oh good. Imagine being a test subject for that. All guards must use ice containment gear when transporting Metroids. This includes sedated specimens and those pronounced dead. Metroids like to play dead. Directive: in the event of a Metroid attack, repel creature with missiles set to maximum concussion. Will do. Yep. Personally, I think attacking them with wave beams first is a better option. Let's try that again. So we can attack these. Motion near Hunter Metroid's DG appears to trigger psychotic episodes. Personnel are to stay at least 3 meters away from stasis tanks. Hunter Metroids is showing signs of increased instability and heightened immunity to cold dampening fields. Hunter Metroids are a different variety of Metroids. We will see them a little bit later. Gotta be careful with the missiles around those stasis tanks. They contain Metroids. So activate the elevator. And log 10.420.7. Metroid section continues to provide more questions than answers. Our research teams have isolated the energy conduits that run from the invasive twin mandibles to the energy core in the creature's quadripartite nucleus, but the manner in which a Metroid actually extracts the life force from its prey remains an utter mystery. The victim does not lose blood or any other vital fluids, and yet the Metroid extracts energy. Identifying this energy is our central problem. It takes no physical form, and yet without it the victim dies. We will continue to research this matter, as the isolation of this life-giving essence could be the key to our ascendance. You know, I kind of like the mystery there. Metroids suck the life energy, but what that is exactly, I like the mystery. Quarantine specimen exhibits highly aggressive behavior. Its body structure, composed of Phazon ore, appears nearly invulnerable. This has rendered our efforts to train and discipline subjects useless. Metroids can't be tamed. East Quarantine Cave has been secured. Specimen remains in the quarantine area. All experiments have been suspended pending pacification of area. That's about. Project Titan is suspended indefinitely. Security breaches result in massive casualties have occurred. Access is strictly prohibited until further notice. Space pirate encryption data decoded. Log 10.550.6. Studies of Metroid biology continue, though with limited progress. It seems likely that we will be much more successful using the Metroids for our means, rather than trying to reproduce their powers. If they could be adequately tamed, we would have no need of a proper understanding of their metabolism. A small force of disciplined Metroids could wipe out entire armies, and once we find a way to shield them from cold containment weapons, they will be invincible. Furthermore, if we could then harvest the energy they'd consumed, we would have a near limitless source of power at our disposal. So the space pirates are considered using Metroids as a tool, which again constitutes some kind of enslavement. But as other scans indicate, Metroids they can't be tamed. There's been no evidence that they can be tamed. And Metroids are highly dangerous, even when all safety precautions are taken. This room also contains a missile expansion. This one is one of the more difficult ones, and I know that there are ways where you can avoid this using some clever platforming tricks. But I'm not aware of all those platforming tricks, so I just find navigating this slowly and surely is a way to gather this particular missile, bringing our total to 45. So we'll ignore the one Metroid in this one tank. I'm not quite sure where it went. I can hear it, that little... There it is. So we'll ignore that, and instead head over to these boxes. If we destroy the boxes, and we encounter a new creature. Oh. Ice beetle, burrowing insect with an ice reinforcement carapace, adverse to heat. This member of the beetle family has adapted to life in the sub-zero temperatures in the Phendrana drifts, growing a thick ice shell over its entire body. The ice is extremely resilient, providing the ice beetle with extra protection and augmented digging abilities. Oh, you bugger. Usually when there's one, there's another one, so we'll just take those here. We have some space pirates and some flying pirates, so we will take care of those. The nice thing about the suicide strike is that the flying pirates tend to stay in the middle, so that when they dive bomb, they basically dive bomb right to the bottom. The one thing to watch out for is that there's some turrets here, so we'll have to negotiate those. There's just a few scans here, but no real importance. Testing of thermal imaging software complete. Commence download to tactical visor prototype for field testing. Central tank control circuit connection terminated. So presumably that's the thermal visor, and we have to disable the force field that contains it in order to acquire it. You can see that there's some thin wires to different terminals to indicate which ones you need to deactivate. I could jump straight to the bottom, but again, different terminals appear on different levels, so it's not really the recommended option here. And then here we have some turrets. So the way I like to negotiate the turrets is that since the wave beam has a homing feature, so we can shoot the turret once with a wave beam and once with a missile. Alright. Thermal imaging software exceeding initial expectations. Combat applications are being evaluated by command. Field testing in Phendrana region approved. Use of prototype visors by security personnel approved. So when central tank auxiliary circuit connection terminated. So I'm not sure if this is the only thermal visor or if this is just one prototype that the space pirates are keeping in this kind of locked area. Inform command that thermal vision tests will begin soon. Abnormal heat traces are represented as red when looking through the thermal imaging spectrum. So all this is basically giving some indication how the thermal visor is going to work. Central tank main circuit connection terminated. So after all three security measures have been terminated, we are able to access the thermal visor. Thermal visor interface will be sent to quarantine area. These visors will be useful for any personnel involved in transport of the unstable test subject there. And we should probably just thermal visor. So we have gone through the Space Pirate base, Lab Hydra and Lab Aether to acquire the thermal visor and the super missiles. And now we have to backtrack all the way to the entrance in order to proceed. This is a nice touch, but I will say this gets a little bit annoying as time progresses. First, you expect that, by disconnecting power systems, that the lights will go out, and of course you have to use the thermal visor straight away. The room is pitch dark, so as you can see, without the thermal visor, it's hard to navigate. So using the thermal visor, it's a nice trick, and I do like the idea that there are a number of environment objects here that resonate. Of course, with the thermal, acquiring the thermal visor and the power cut here means that we're gonna have to fight a couple of Metroids, but that's okay. Once we get additional upgrades, fighting Metroids won't be nearly as challenging. But certainly one of the more annoying things is that if you don't deal with the Metroids straight away, they'll just break out on their own and come chasing and pestering you anyway. If you do get a Metroid on you, and I'm sure eventually I will get a Metroid latch onto me, the simplest thing to do is just go into a Morph Ball and bomb them. So you bomb the Metroid off you, and then you can go ahead and target it and dispatch it. That's a interesting puzzle. And here we have a new enemy. Mechanoid Sentry Drone, well-armed and armored security mecha. Sentry drones have limited intelligence, but do their assigned tasks well. Being machines, they are susceptible to electrical attacks when alerted. Drones indicate a security lockdown, then attempt to initiate a security lockdown, then attempt to neutralize the intruder. Their electronic warfare suit can scramble visor technology as well. So as you can see, when I get close, the picture gets all fuzzy, and so Samus can't see them very well. But 2 or 3 charge, I think 3 charge by the wave beam will take care of them. And so we're going to go all the way up here. So we'll have to deal with these pirates. But it might be... So any pirate that's in the way, we are just going to blast. One of the things that's become apparent here is that with the lights out, getting that morph ball is really, really challenging. I'm going to blow up the turret here. So doing it in the dark is very, very challenging. Much easier to do it when the lights are on. So if you do choose to get that missile upgrade, make sure you get it on the way to the thermal visor, not after the thermal visor. Here we don't need the thermal visor anymore, and we can just take the elevator up, again backtracking all the way to the front. Here we have the flying pirates again, but this time they don't lock the door, so we can just avoid the fight altogether and go straight down to the observatory. We'll need the thermal visor again, because the lights are out all throughout this pirate base here. There's a save station across the way, and so we're just going to drop down. And once again, ignore this pirate fight, because all we're interested in is just getting to this door here. More security drones. Just target them and use your wave beam. Again, the wave beam is very effective, but you can use other beams as well. So we'll see some examples of that later. One thing that's kind of notorious about the Prime series is that the doors sometimes take a while to open. That's usually to some lag in the data transfer loading the next room. Just over here, if we scan this, no, here, it'll say that cordite casing of column appears weak. This is an indication that whenever you have cordite, you're supposed to shoot that with a super missile. We couldn't shoot it on the way in because we got the super missile in the Chozo Observatory, and no point in backtracking after we get the super missile to this because we'll just get it here. It's no big deal to get that power up on the way out. Just going to ignore the fights here. Not interested in taking on the pirates. Really just making our way to the exit. That turret, I will say, is one of the more annoying turrets. Turrets in general are pretty annoying. You can turn the thermal visor off here once we've reached the entrance and make our way over here. Over here we can see that this door, there's no shield, so we have a couple of things we need to do. First, there's a cordite casing here that we need to blow off with the super missile. Next, we need the wave beam and the thermal visor. Well, we don't need the thermal visor, but we definitely need the wave beam to blow that. Oh, we want to keep the wave beam. The wave beam's useful. Wave beam's a little more powerful than the normal power beam, albeit a little bit slower. But the homing feature is certainly a great addition. The wave beam's the only one with a homing feature, by the way. All the other beams, you just aim where you want to shoot and the beam goes there, regardless of whether you lock on or not. I don't think I've mentioned this before, but missiles are homing. So if you lock onto an enemy and fire a missile, the missile will track the enemy as it moves around. And now we get to meet the creature that the space pirates have quarantined. We're in the quarantine cave at the moment. I think the backstory of this boss in terms of the in-game lore is kind of silly, actually. The idea and what was indicated is that the space pirates just basically took this pile of rocks, infused it with as much phazon as they could, and the rocks developed sentience and became this, more or less, this giant beast here. We need the thermal visor to defeat the boss, and we'll learn more about the boss when we scan it. So let's see what it says. Morphology: Thardus, an animated sentient creature of stone charged with phazon radiation. The phazon radiation given off by Thardus negates auto-targeting systems, preventing lock-on. It may be possible to acquire alternate targets with a different visor. The chaotic nature of phazon radiation leads to instability in its structural integrity. Thardus can encase targets in ice, and its colossal size and strength make it a formidable opponent. So, we need the thermal visor to locate these particular targeting spots, and then once the targeting spots have been exposed, then we're just going to target those spots with missiles. Sometimes super missiles is more effective here, and so the pattern more or less is the same. First, you use the thermal visor to expose a weak spot, and target the weak spot until it becomes exposed. And then you turn the thermal visor off and you use, oh gosh, I'm usually better at anticipating. And, oh, yeah, I'm not doing well fighting Thardus today. But once you expose the weak point, the thermal visor overloads, and you use your normal visor to target it and destroy the weak spot. On the hardest difficulty mode, the Thardus is much more challenging. So those of you looking for enduring, challenging fight, very much one of survival. Might try to fight Thardus on the highest difficulty level. You might, because of all this missile use, you might want to acquire more missiles, so you might have to do some additional backtracking to get some of the missile packs that I've ignored thus far. But it's up to you. So after a while, Thardus, when it realizes that it's able to be tracked, what it'll do here is it'll alter the environment and kind of create this blizzard storm in the arena here, in the cave. But it doesn't really affect anything. All it does is certainly make visibility with a normal visor much more challenging. But again, with the thermal visor and the normal visor, when you can target Thardus, it doesn't really affect anything. There we go. So you can predict when Thardus is going to cause that ice storm to appear. So, I do like that the different weak spots occur, and that you just slowly are destroying Thardus one by one, piece by piece, as it were. Thardus does have a number of attacks, so we've seen that ice trail. Thardus will curl up into a ball. Thardus will also summon some stones from the ground and hurl these stones at you. You can blast the stones out of the air for additional resources if you need to. So here Thardus is throwing some stones. Samus. I don't think I hit that one target very well. And it's not a difficult target, too. You can target... there we go. So you can target parts of Thardus when Thardus is in the ball. Although usually it's only the bigger pieces I have success with. If the piece is really small, then I have a hard time targeting Thardus when the ball... and you can't log on to the target when Thardus is in the ball. So once again, Thardus here has altered the environment. And so now visibility once again is apparent. I'm not sure the rationale here. I guess Thardus thinks that maybe it was just a waste of energy on its part to maintain the blizzard. But now it's doing the exact opposite, removing as much snow and ice from the cave as it can. And you can see from its health that Thardus is almost defeated. And this is, once you get the hang of the fight, it's just a number of stages over and over again. And finally, enough of Thardus has been destroyed that it loses all cohesion, and I guess the sentient bits of itself just destruct and turns into a pile of inanimate rock once again. I always thought that part was kind of cute. So we got our next major item. I don't know why the charge beam doesn't retract those items. Well, we get the spider ball. And the spider ball allows us to engage with these rails that we've seen throughout the environment. We've seen them in a few places. One of the reasons why I haven't scanned them in the past is that when you scan them before the spider ball, they don't count to your scan log. So, research, magnetic rail system track. Or actually, let me begin again. Magnetic rail system track. In morph ball mode, press and hold Z while close to this type of surface. Use the control stick to move the ball along the track. Release Z to disengage from the surface. Caution, a morph ball bomb will briefly disengage the ball from the track. So, the idea is in morph ball mode, we can magnetically latch onto this track and use it to navigate around areas. Now, I'm not sure where the track comes from, whether it's a space pirate invention or perhaps it was part of the Chozo. But in any case, we need the spider ball track here because we want to reach this mesa. Keep in mind that there is a morph ball tunnel over there, and these things. But we'll make our way over here. Oh, that was weird. And we'll be heading back into Magmore Caverns. We could go up to that rail, but we'll see that there's a white door up there, and we don't have the equipment to open that white door. So we're forced to take the elevator down, or I mean, we could backtrack, but that would actually be quite silly. So we'll head down to Magmore Caverns, and we'll continue through Magmore Caverns in the next video.